welcome to the Bigfoot Roundtable.
Hey there.
Hey.
Hey, how's everybody tonight?
Good, I guess.
Good. Middle of the week.
Yeah.
Just through the week.
So, my first question is, did everybody survive the worst apocalypse ever yesterday?
I'm here to say I did.
You did?
Even though the eclipse was came on by the climate change.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I heard. So, yeah. Welcome everybody in the chat. We got a whole long list here. Thanks for joining us tonight. So tonight I wanted to bring up the fact now this is something that MK Davis actually did a little video a couple of weeks ago about, and it was a short little video he did, and it triggered something in my brain, and it's something that's been going on with Bigfooting forever. We're going to be talking about the bar, the evidence bar. And is Bigfoot raising the evidence bar on us every time we find something? It doesn't seem to work. So that's what I wanted to talk about tonight. And we're going to go through I've got some questions here that we're going to try to cover. But off the bat, let's go down our panel list here. We'll start with Tobe. What is the most compelling evidence that supports the existence of Bigfoot, in your opinion?
I would say that'd be collaborative locations with witness testimony on place names. So what I mean by that is places that are on a map that sound as though they're mysterious or spooky generally have those names made by locals, indigenous people. And those seem to have consistent sighting reports, not just Bigfoot names, but names like Spirit Ridge, Devil Mountain, Booger Hill. When you have consistent reports, and I think we can probably all attest to going to a location that has a weird name and, having a sighting, seeing something, have rocks thrown. To me, that's really, that's how it all started for me, as far as like, could that work? And so it did. And I think consistently it has. So I think that's probably the best first step as far as consistency to what people are saying exists out there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
Nikki, what's your opinion?
I think the encounters are definitely up there. Those are one of my top. I'm finding that wasn't always the case, but I'm finding that people who have had these encounters and the way they express it, not all are the same, not all seem credible or what have you, but there are a lot out there that just they encompass all of it, the whole ticket. They encompass where they were, what they were doing, what happened. They weren't even looking for Bigfoot. They were just out having a great time, and they seem credible to me. And those type of encounters I hold at a very high level, I mean, of course, those can get knocked down if you go and you find out that, well, they lied about where they were. They weren't, there wasn't other people who saw the Bigfoot in the area. There could be a lot of what ifs with that, but I hold that higher than footprints. I hold that higher than video and photo evidence right now, because so much of that can just be, I don't know, really put in a bad light, because we weren't there. We weren't there to witness what was going on. So, I have to agree with Tobe on that there's some things out there that when people give you their heartfelt encounter story, who are we to say they didn't have that?
Mm-hmm.
So for me right now, that's where it's at. you know, and
All right.
maybe when I more boots on the ground, then that
All right, Joe, what do you think?
I agree with them, but the tracks that I found, I mean, no hoaxer's going to go out there where I found them tracks, because a hoaxer's going to try to put a footprint where they're easily found. There's a lot of fakes out there. I've seen probably a dozen pictures of fake footprints since Sunday.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
whoa.
but the people that say that they've seen one, I think that's. I mean, you can pretty much tell when they're joking around or BSing you. But when you get somebody and they're like their hair stand up on their arm and stuff, or their eyes start watering up and they experience something that that you just can't make up, I think that's pretty credible.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and I would have to go along with all you guys. It's mostly the reports. I've had people, like, especially when we're at events, they'll walk by my booth 3 or 4 times and give me the old side eye, waiting for nobody to be in there, nobody to be next to me, nobody else in the booth with me. And then they'll come up and fill me out and then tell me their story. Those are the ones that are very credible. But as far as evidence goes, I mean, eyewitness reports, to me are very, they're I don't know, they're not tangible evidence, really, to be honest with you. But for me, they're pins and maps. Definitely. That's what I use to go out and do research, is all the reports that we get. I look for dates and times and locations, and know what month this area is hot and what month that area is hot and stuff like that. I can do that with all the reports. But as far as tangible evidence goes, I mean, will that stand up in court? You know what I'm saying?
Not nowadays.
Not nowadays. So it won't.
Right.
You're freezing up periodically, Scott. Either that or you have a really interesting resting Squatch face. There he goes. He's a brilliant mime. Let's all do.
Yeah, brilliant mind. Okay, so we're having solar for we're using our Starlink right now, and there's a solar. It's like some kind of solar extreme thing going on right now.
Okay.
It's causing problems with the satellite. So if I lock up, it'll just take a second. I'll be back. So tracks. Let's move to those. Are they evidence? Tangible evidence?
I think so. I mean, the tracks, they have eDNA in them. And with the use of LiDAR, with the new iPhone in particular, I don't know if anybody's had a chance to go look at a track, even not just a Bigfoot track, just go look at any track with a LiDAR. It's amazing. In fact, you can take a photo and then turn it into a 3D LiDAR with a program. So you don't even need LiDAR. Mm-hmm. You almost don't even need plaster. I mean, if you can do a sample of eDNA, right, record yourself scooping up the ground in the track or the handprint or whatever, the place where you think it was sitting, and you can come back with something that is tantamount to being undocumented or not in the data set with a scan and maybe even a plaster impression or hydrocal. And then you can follow that in concert to a sighting or secondary evidence or a nest or whatever. Yeah, absolutely. Like my buddy John Clinton, who lives in Rainbow, Oregon. If John's watching, how you doing? He followed a trackway that was, I think he said the tracks were over 20 inches and they were over 6 feet apart. This was in Northern California, and that's all he had, right? Was just the interest to see if this was a hoax or how this happened. he ended up 5 feet away from a Sasquatch, you know, face to face, and he'll never forget it. And so, I mean, they're worth following up on, even if they're a hoax. You know, it takes a long time to figure out if you have a hoax on your hand, and people vacillate. But I always say, when in doubt, follow it, track it, cast it, whatever.
Right.
Oh, absolutely. Always cast it. Cast first and ask
Mhm.
questions later. Yeah, I meant as far as that LiDAR stuff goes, or the 3D scanning, that's what I just started doing. I actually tested it out. The pad, you know, and made a print, and then I scanned it, and then I used a 3D printer to print it out, and I can't tell the difference between the cast and the 3D printed.
Oh,
one.
really?
Yeah.
Wait,
So
so
it's
you took a 3D scanner and then you digitally made a polymer plastic version of it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so incredible. I don't know anybody who's done that. That's incredible.
Okay.
I think that's so cool. You have that cast?
I do. I don't have it with me. It's out
Okay.
but yeah, I have it.
That's incredible. So could you do that with anything? I mean,
Yeah.
anything that is leaving an impression,
Right.
you could cast a plastic version of it.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
That's
Which
incredible.
also makes really good footprints that are hard that I could strap on my shoes and fake prints with, which is
Oh.
kind of stupid.
But that's what we need to think about, right?
Yeah.
Is when you evolve your science, there's more ways for the not so credible out
Mhm.
there to use against us, you know.
Yeah.
It's a kind of two-way street there,
Yeah.
because you're always going to have these motivations, and everybody's got different motivations. Some's going to be that money trail thing. Some's going to be more of a scientific pursuit. Some is a more paranormal, or as Tobe would say, a normal pursuit. You know, other way. Everybody has their own journey through here. So some are going to hold footprints as the beat all thing. That's the number one thing that shows them these things are real, you know, and that's okay, you know, but it just depends what alley you're going down at that time. You know, I'm a little bit skeptical on prints unless there's a sighting that's with it.
Yeah.
You know, if, you know, like the Patterson Gimlin, they've had prints along with the sighting, along with video, along with all this other stuff, which put it on a higher level for me. But
That's one reason why I took a picture of track. I said, I'm not sure. I didn't see a Bigfoot do that, but it looks like a footprint. But I always make sure I say, I don't know if a Bigfoot did that or not.
yeah, they're all alleged. They're all alleged unless you're actually videotaping it doing it, you know. Which is one thing I found. Thomas Steenberg would always, he never failed to say alleged or possible, or, you know, he never stated anything was fact. It's, you know, all speculative. Which was
I don't afford.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I had my sighting. I took my photo, but I also have the footprints from where they were standing too. So I have that too for my sighting. We have, you know, I have a picture of the two Bigfoot, and I have 16-inch tracks and 9-inch tracks next to them. So I have all those, but nobody believes me, you know. So there's that, you know, and that's something I run into, and that was going to be one of the next questions is, I've had guys, now we do a lot of shows. We do a lot of sportsman shows and just non-Bigfoot things that people come and tell me their Bigfoot stories. But we also have the guys that walk into the thing. I've been hunting my whole life, you know. I've been running dogs on bears, you know, since I was a kid, that sort of stuff. And, you know, I've had a gentleman say, well, how come you ain't got any evidence? And I'll turn around and look at this 2 tables full of footprint casts that I have sitting there, and say, what's all that? And he goes, they're all faked, every single one of them, So what do we do about the skepticism? I mean, yeah. One of the things that
what you can do about it, you could have one in a cage at one of your shows, and somebody's still going to say it's not real.
Yeah,
Somebody's going to say it's not real.
Yeah.
But those skeptics, if they have a sighting, they turn into the best witnesses, really. The people that really fight it. They argue the best points. They're the most passionate. I mean, you've seen it, Scott. These bow hunters that show up, guys that literally walk in at 4 a.m, 5 or 6 miles, maybe longer, by themselves. They'll set up a tree stand. These warriors, right, of the woods, they don't care who knows what they're doing. They do it in the dark. They're hunters, right? They're real bushmen. And when those guys turn into witnesses, that's my favorite story, is those guys, right? Like, and they're really reticent. They're not coming forward unless I trust you, right? They're standoffish. But we got to wait for those guys to come forward, because they're the best. They're the best.
Yeah.
I heard a guy say the other day, or read a guy say the other day, that how come hunters never report Bigfoot sightings? I said, well, you ain't done your homework. Because there's hunters all the time saying that they couldn't shoot it because they thought it was a human.
Right.
Yeah.
Hi, Sharon from Belgium. I told her I'd give her a shout out. So hi, Sharon.
Okay, there we go. Awesome. No, I do these sportsman shows, and there's actually there's a guy who is one of the guest speakers at these sportsman shows, who's one of these outfitters who takes guys out hunting and fishing and stuff like that. And he took me aside one year. We were doing these. We've done these shows for 4 years now, or 3 years, I think, in a row. And this one guy took me aside and told me this really cool story about what happened to him and some guy that he had from Michigan that came out here to Oregon that he took out hunting. And it ended up with the guy from Michigan running back to the truck, and then he had to chase him back to the truck. And then the guy was sitting in the truck saying, I'm not hunting in Oregon ever again because of what he just saw, But he told me this great story, but he won't let me share it. He won't let me videotape him. He won't let me tell you who he is or anything like that, because I probably will hurt his business. But for him to take me behind the curtain and tell me the story, that's, like Tobe said, that's one of the most credible ones that for me.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So we were in Medellin Falls for 2 days last weekend, and this guy walked in late to this conference. He just came in off the street. Now, Medellin is where they shot The Postman with Kevin Costner, right? Like super remote, northern Washington, Canadian border, nothing but granite, beautiful fly fishing territory and forest and Bigfoot country. So this guy, I was the only one there, right? So I showed him as much as I could, because I could tell he was a hunter that was deep in the bush and had an experience on a game cam. But because I opened up this other channel of, saying, hey, do you want to hear the sounds? Have you heard them? What do they sound like to you? Do you want to hear more sounds? Like, maybe we could match it. Maybe you could listen to the Moorhead sounds. And by the end of it, right, like, he felt comfortable enough to say, why do I have missing time? Now, this was a salt of the earth guy. But I opened up this other Pandora's box to this world, right, where Sasquatch exists. We know that from what Matt Moneymaker just broke on the BFRO, that the tide is turning here for these full conversations to exist of not just the sightings, because these expert witnesses are ready not only to talk about their Bigfoot stuff, but stuff like orbs and missing time and disappearing tracks and all this other stuff. So, I count that as just as important evidence. A lot of these guys are completely messed up from the Bigfoot stuff, but they're even more messed up because they can't tell the full story. You know what I mean? Like they've been stifled with this hidden event, and there's just a small percentage of us ready to hear the crazier stuff. But I think we at least need to entertain it because it's not going away, and it's a solid case for understanding what we're dealing with as far as it being the whole body of evidence. So the tracks are one thing, the sounds are another, but this peripheral issue here, it's the leading edge. It's why Matt Moneymaker has a week of woo coming out right now, because this is the BFRO, right? You do not talk about this unless it's in flats. You don't preach it, you don't discuss it. And now it's going to be their new normal. They have no place to anchor up except taking the entire report, which is the entire weirdness of Sasquatch.
Wow. Nikki, what's your thought on that?
Yeah, Nikki.
I agree. You hear it all the time, that same focus on hunters, and they have seen them, but it's a taboo. They're not gonna come out and risk being laughed at by their buddies, on what they saw. And I bet you there's a lot out there who saw something and didn't say a word to any of their group that were out there. Mm-hmm. And they will go to the grave with that, and some, it'll disturb them so much they won't ever go back into the woods again. And some become Bigfooters, that triggers them to want to go out and see what's out there. So it's a fascination, and we all have that draw. Either way you look at it, we need it all. Even the shitty pictures, the shitty videos, the blurry whatever, we need it all, right? Because maybe one day all that shit's gonna really make a difference. All of it. Mm-hmm. And I just don't think a lot of it should go out into the internet. You should keep it in your own little files until the time comes when you have something that is so unbelievable that then you start to reach out and start sharing and pulling in people who you trust to go through your evidence with you. I think a lot of people put stuff out there before they really should.
I was watching a Mountain Beast Mysteries the other day, and Justin was talking about a story, like I think it was from 1968. There was two hunters that went out.
This is killing me. Okay. It's like our Bigfoot group, Squatch America, our motto is we investigate then explain. We don't explain then investigated. So, it's great to investigate it. But we can't, unless you investigate it, you really don't have a right to talk about it, basically, is what I feel. So, man, I'm having stuff pop up all over. My computer's being crazy. So I'm going to play a little quick ad real quick before we go any further. And then I got a question after that. And we're going to talk about something that's coming up for us here. Hello, Bigfoot enthusiasts. Scott here from Squatch America. And I'm here today, rainy day on Mount Hood. Is there any other day on Mount Hood? Anyway, I got something very exciting to talk to you about. Squatch America and the Bigfoot Roundtable folks are actually sponsoring a Bigfoot science fair. Yeah, it's going to run from April through November. We need you to get your greatest Bigfoot evidence gathering idea together and send it to SquatchAmerica@gmail.com. And the Bigfoot Roundtable will be reviewing them as they come in. And then at the end of November, the beginning of October, in our October episode of the Bigfoot Roundtable, we will announce the winners. The top 3 places will be prizes. So if you want to join the science fair, check out the information on the screen right here. And all you have to do is create a video of your idea and then submit it to SquatchAmerica@gmail.com. Just email us a link or email the video, and we will be reviewing it on the Bigfoot Roundtable. All right, guys, how do you feel like that you're going to be the Shark Tank of the Bigfoot research world?
Dun, 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 dun.
I won't be Mark Cuban.
I'll be the bitchy one from QFC.
There you go.
Oh man, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be. I know of a lot of people who should already be thinking about turning something in.
Yeah.
I can name probably 2 or 3 people right now that have something very intriguing that they do while they're out squatching.
Squatch.
You know? Yeah.
I like that.
And-
Someone put squatch.
There we go.
Yeah.
I
We'll
love it.
see.
Yeah, so that's going to be fun. I'm always trying to come up with new and interesting, different ideas. We've got one in the works. I mean, I don't count in this, but I just put together a little. We call it Project Pond Scum, and what I'm doing is taking the 360 degrees of trail cameras that don't use infrared, that trigger by just motion. So they're not giving off any light or anything, and we're floating them on ponds, little ponds up in the woods, and let them sit there on the water and see what comes to the water, kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something I'm working on right now. But will any of these new ideas gather us evidence that will make the world go, okay, which is the biggest problem. So here's the next question. How does popular culture and media portrayal of Bigfoot influence public perception of the search for the evidence?
What? Say that one more time for me.
Okay, I'm back.
Say it again, Scott.
Okay. I would say, how does popular culture and media portrayal of Bigfoot influence public perception and our search for evidence?
Well, it makes it a joke. Like, we're undoing the word Bigfoot. First of all, it's kind of the first misstep we've made, because now it's just this goofy thing that has a large appendage. It could have been big anything. It's just like, Bigfoot, big what else? So it's just like, it seemed like a big mistake. And, Sasquatch is so much more beautiful. It reaches to the Native Americans and the First Nations. And I don't know, just seeing, I get it. I mean, like, I have bumper stickers and stuff here on my cork board, but I think we've really made a misstep by Disneyfying the phenomena, and we're constantly trying to explain that this is something real, first of all, and that there's more than one Like this is the whole thing is right. Like they see the PG film and they don't know that it's a female. They don't seem to ever know. That's weird to me that they don't know that's a female. And they think there's only one, right? Or they think it's only Harry and the Henderson. And it just, I don't know. It's kind of tiresome, don't you think? Like it doesn't help.
Yeah, every time you see somebody in the media talking about it, they're laughing.
Right.
I was think, well, do you think there's a Bigfoot out there? Like,
Right. Have you found one yet? I've heard that a million times. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's one of
But-
the questions I get all the time at these festivals.
Oh.
Hey, have you found one yet?
Yeah,
And I look
I
at
know.
them straight in the eye and go, yes. And they kind of look shocked at me, like, what?
Yeah. Right.
We have a culture that immediately wants to demonize Bigfoot. Most of the Bigfoot movies or anything aside from Harry
Mhm.
were all these evil looking, grotesque Bigfoot out to eat your face off,
Mhm.
you know? And that's where society takes it, where people away from Bigfoot. Okay. Remember, we're a small part of this whole, picture. The rest of the, community, world, US, whatever, that's what they get. That's what
Mhm.
their first encounter is with exists. That's what Bigfoot looks like.
Mhm.
Is that.
I wonder if Raptor Crazy is talking about us. So it sounds like you guys aren't doing an expedition to go really, really deep in the woods to try to find one. I know he ain't talking about me. He's
I know.
You're talking
You
about
just picked
himself.
off the wrong cowboy there, Raptor. What are you doing?
Yeah.
This guy's spurs. Have you seen him? They're bigger than a windmill. So catch it.
I forget Nikki's been up there. And where'd you go that last trip with Brent and everybody? You was way heck up in
Yeah.
there too.
Mount St. Helens, yeah.
And Toby, you've been out. You've been down deep in the woods, so I don't know if he must not be.
Oh
He
yeah,
must be
I
talking
have
about
all the
people.
time, but I've never done it squatching. I've always just done that out there.
Mhm.
It's kind of different when your mindset
Mhm.
has Bigfoot on the brain and you're,
Mhm.
out there with a whole different mentality of what you're out there for. So
I know.
How many sightings are happened by hikers going through jogging trails?
exactly.
About that, just walk across the trail in front of you.
But
You
this
don't
is
have-
like one of the misnomers too, that you need to go deep in the woods. Like the best Bigfoot evidence that I've seen collected by people is not more than a couple miles from their house, or too far from a park, or even that far from a freeway or power lines. Like it seems like the deeper you go, the more aggressive, first of all, and it's going to be brief. But these prolonged experiences that happen more than once seem to happen close to zip codes of people.
Mhm.
So that's, I don't know, the Raptor, I think that's maybe one way to do it, and maybe it works for you. I haven't seen that work here in Oregon, Washington.
Yeah.
Raptor, he's on Squatch America's channel. I'm channeling it onto my channel as well. So
Okay.
you're on my channel and he's on the other channel because he
Okay.
can't get on my channel. He's
Oh.
blocked.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
Yeah. So actually, believe it or not, a lot of the footprints and stuff that we find, power lines, that's a Bigfoot highway in the woods. We do a lot of research following power lines, and but something Nikki said earlier is there is this danger that we have all these videos like killer Bigfoot, the cannibal of the woods, all that stuff. But believe it or not, that's kind of been a thing for a long time. What I have here is a list of names of Bigfoot from Native American tribes. All right. The red ones mean bad things. The black ones mean good ones. So this has been going on for a long time. Even back in the Native American era, they're kind of split 50-50 whether they're good or bad. So I don't think that whole thing of Bigfoot's bad has been around for a lot longer than most people think.
Yeah,
and it could be.
Well, with the movies, they're trying to sell. You know, it is actually that money thing. So, you know,
People want to see a scary movie. They want to see blood and guts and and all that good stuff. They want to be scared.
The human hunt. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I have this other question. Why do you think mainstream science hasn't jumped on this yet? Yeah. I'll start off this one. A lot of stuff now, I have worked with colleges, in archaeological digs and stuff, being an anthropologist, and anything that's kind of fringe like Bigfoot, UFOs, that sort of thing. I have found stuff that would shock you to death, Tobe. I found pictographs of rockets being launched and stuff from Native Americans, in my opinion. But we weren't allowed to talk about it because the college will lose funding if you do. I think that's one of the bigger things that the colleges, and I think it's getting better, but they're strictly, will lose funding for stuff. And then another thing, most of the bigger like anthropological finds in history have been naysayed for years by everybody in the mainstream, just because they didn't find it, that sort of thing. So,
I mean, you're right, Scott. Like, I don't have the luxury of financing being taken away from me for my personal opinion, but I could see if you're not a tenured professor, if you're on some board, if you have investors that have nervous looks, you better have what we call FU money, because that is your only way for total freedom. I mean, we see the likes of Elon Musk, on a podium saying things that we could only dream of saying, right? And here's a guy that has that kind of money that can speak freely. But there's two separate books of knowledge here. Like you're saying, you have pictographs with rockets on it. Well, that's hidden knowledge that isn't going to be divulged to the public sector. It's part of the private sector. I think there's this whole world of like private science, right? Like something that happened maybe in the 1930s that they discovered and they kept to themselves along with all the other, relics and information. And then they gave us this other version of science that we can talk about, that's shared, that's dumbed down, that's not as useful, that's controlled. But there's this whole world of like free energy, free thought that they have advanced knowledge of. And Bigfoot seems to be a part of that world for whatever reason, because I think there's really strange attributes to these things that are mimicking free energy like UFOs, and they're tapping into all sorts of stuff. And I think that's probably part of this hidden world that we can't know about, because if we free our minds to know about this stuff, then we're dangerous. We're on an equal playing field with the military industrial complex and the powers that be. And I just don't trust the government. I honestly think that they're more often not here to do us harm. And that's not popular for a lot of people. I don't know why. But when it comes to like knowledge is power, they don't want you to have power. So why would they want you to have knowledge? So it's real. We know it's real, and they're hiding it. I mean, we know that they're hiding it. They have to know. They know they're hiding it. That's why they're making it seem so stupid with names like Bigfoot.
Oh, there you go. That's a good point. Come on, chime in there, Nikki. Is the government hiding it? Is this a government conspiracy?
No, I don't think so. I'm kind of opposite end of that part is that I don't think it's a government conspiracy, and I don't think they would waste all that time to hide something like that. And because there's just so many pieces to government, so many pieces of the puzzle that would have to be read in, that I can't. I have a real hard time thinking that they are definitely not pursuing it, definitely not making it an issue or trying to research it. So, but I just don't see the evidence either way. It's just another factor out there that lingers. And I personally don't like to, I don't even really like to speculate about it, because it won't get us anywhere. It's not, getting us further down the road. So if they are hiding all this from us, nothing's going to change, right? They're going to continue with that way of misleading us. So that'll
Right.
never change. We need to do something else. And the researchers who are out there every day, somebody's gonna crack this. Somebody's gonna do it. And it's gonna be a matter of being in the right time at the right place, and it's gonna happen. That's what I think.
There,
I don't care what the government thinks. What they're doing.
back in 2009, there was a guy in Coos Bay, Oregon, near Elkton, Oregon, and his name was Don. And Don was working for the BLM out of Veneta, Oregon. So he told me this incredible encounter while he was on the job at 6 a.m. tagging trees. He had to write a report, turned it into the field office based upon a Sasquatch that he saw. He thought it was picking mushrooms off on the Skid Road. And he had to write everything down. If he saw a cougar, if he got stung by a hornet, whatever. So he had to write down, he saw a big shaggy thing walking on 2 legs on the Skid Road. Turned in the report. And, the boss, I can't remember what his boss's exact words were, but when he went home that day, the secretary handed him a map. And the secretaries have been keeping track from Seaside all the way down to Gold Beach of Bigfoot reports, right? This is what's in the first part of A Flash of Beauty. But I saw this map like when Autumn Williams was doing her thing out in Elkton with me back in 2010. He gave me the map, like it's an official BLM map of the reports. It had a key code on it. The secretaries have been keeping track throughout the years to cut down on the ridicule factor. They would hear the Bigfoot stories from the field office, take an official map, make their own key about what had happened for the employees. So he gives me the map, and they find out that he gives an unregistered guy, not affiliated with the state, that he gave me the map. They threatened to fire him over giving me that map. His son calls me up in a panic because his dad was like 6 months out from retiring. I quickly record the map, give it back to Don and his son, and that was that. But they know, and they don't want it out there, because I think let's just put it in this particular order. If they have to classify this, it's a lot bigger headache for them. They have to shut down whole sections like they did with the spotted owl. It's a control issue. It's a timber issue. But I think it's a power issue. Just given, if they know that, they know they've got all these other puzzling attributes.
Right. All of a sudden, it'll be a safety issue too.
Right.
All of a sudden, little kids are going to be in danger.
It's like if we have undocumented people running around the woods, possibly abducting humans, coming onto private property, going in and out of wormholes, it's an issue. Like, they're going to have to talk about it. And I think they have to get this alien thing over with first. That's going to take a while. And then we're going to have to get to this Bigfoot issue down the road.
Yeah, I'm almost positive, and I've said this before, that there's a Bigfoot skeleton in some drawer in the back of the Smithsonian somewhere.
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure if Bigfoot's going to be discovered, it's going to be discovered in a drawer in a museum somewhere.
Mhm.
You would be surprised. I've spent a lot of time in that academic world, working in museums and things like that. And there's some weird stuff in the back drawers of a lot of these little tiny museums in the middle of nowhere. For instance, little known fact, little tiny town in California up in the mountains in the Sierras called Mariposa, just outside Yosemite National Park. Little tiny town. It's got a little tiny museum in it. In the back room, they have a climate controlled vault. In that vault is one of the first Gadsden flags that were ever made.
Oh, wow.
But nobody knows it. It's in the
Mhm.
it's in the back of this little tiny place in the middle of nowhere.
Is that the "Don't Tread on Me" flag?
Yeah, they don't.
Okay.
Yeah, they don't tread on me flag. One of the original ones, hand sewn.
Wow.
It's just crazy. And I'm pretty sure there's probably a Bigfoot skeleton in the back of some museum somewhere.
And real quick to Donald Fuller, who talked about where's the FOIA request. If the UFO stuff is, if you can't do a FOIA request on some of this UFO stuff because it goes into our nuke secrets, our Department of Energy, that's why you can't file a FOIA. Maybe they did this as well with what's going on here. If they're utilizing, different means of energy to come in and out of existence and able to, do crazy stuff at a moment's notice. Maybe you can't get FOIA requests on stuff like this. It's just too sensitive.
If Scott froze up.
Yeah, sorry. All right. It was a long one that time. Okay. All right. You said Donald Fuller is the last thing I heard.
Oh no, I was just talking about Donald Fuller mentioning FOIA requests, and you can't get a FOIA request based upon Department of Energy stuff when it pertains to nuke secrets or free energy. So maybe that's where Bigfoot belongs. Maybe that's why we don't get the information. I mean, they don't even call him Sasquatch, right? Like, that's our word. That's the Native American word. Like, supposedly in Washington at McCord, they call Sasquatch teddy bears. I know that sounds ridiculous, but that's what we had an insider that we vetted, and he said that the top brass up there call them teddy bears. In Cottage Grove, they call them salamanders. They don't call them UFOs anymore. They call them UAPs, but do they? Maybe they call UAPs, like at the Pentagon, I don't know, free energy vehicles or something like that. So it's all a word game. You know what I mean? Like, we're messing with total D-bags right now that like to play word games with us.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah. All right. So, by the words of the great Grover Krantz, he said, if we ever got one of actually, and he was a pro-kill, by the way, ever had a body of one of these things, he said you would literally have to drag it from university to university and rub people's faces in it to get you to believe it. If it come out in the newspaper, no big deal. You'd literally have to drag the body from university to university and show people.
I like it.
Or you could be like Rick Dyer and put in a trailer and travel around.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he tried that.
Made a lot of money too.
Yeah.
Yes, he did.
Who's the guy that invented the spruce goose that wore the Kleenex boxes?
Howard Hughes.
Yeah.
Howard Hughes.
I heard this weekend that Howard Hughes had an interest in the Minnesota Iceman. Have you guys ever heard that?
I
Yeah.
heard that.
You have? Okay. That's the first time I heard that. I heard he bought the actual Minnesota Iceman and had a replica made so the guy could still show it. Have you guys ever heard that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, they don't know the money part, but they
Okay.
do definitely say that they had issues with taking that Iceman across the border to Canada. And to do that, they had to make a duplicate. And there's some people who think that the original is in an refrigerated cooler in California right now.
Oh my gosh.
I never heard about how much he wanted to give for it, but I heard the story about it.
Yeah.
I've never heard that.
Donald Fullerton's 50 large.
Oh, really?
That was the first one. The Hank thing made over 180 grand.
Wow.
Hmm.
That's the FU money I need.
That's right. We need to make a general announcement to any mama or daddy Warbucks that
Yeah.
wants to support.
Let me send a quick text to Rick there for you, Scott, to
Right.
see if he can throw you a bone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. Mhm.
Okay, I was just glancing through the chat real quick. So we're getting close to the end here. I got one last question. What do you believe is the most promising avenue for future research on Bigfoot?
I would say getting in close if you can gain their trust, getting in good with people that live with the phenomena, these Sasquatch contactees or extended experiencers that are like the Autumn Williams, Sally Shepherd, Walford types that live remote like they did in Ording, Washington, that have it going on. You have to get their trust first, and then you lock it in. You have a confined 5 acres or whatever it is. You Jane Good all the hell out of it, and don't try to trick them. Use audio more than video, as frustrating as that is. Ask for photographs. Don't think you'll ever get one, and lean in on the audio portion of it, and just keep an open mind with this being a type of people with puzzling attributes. I think that's how we get to the bottom of this. And it will probably happen with a woman, because in the primate world, that's where it happened. The guys couldn't do it as well as the women could, Diane Fossey and Jane Goodall. And I think it just has something to do with the patience. It probably has something to do with the nurturing quality. I just think that guys, it's tougher for us because we want that adrenaline evidence, right? And women don't need it.
Do you see what Finding Trackway has to say up there?
Which one?
It says that there's a story of some rich family in New York that owns a nature preserve having a captured Bigfoot released into the wild.
I like it.
I've never heard of that.
Never heard from there.
Wow.
Never heard from
That's a pretty
there.
cool,
So
I don't know. What do you? I think it's really going to take a lot of money. It's going to take that money to get somebody who is a credible scientist to walk away from a tenure, to walk away from anything that's being held over his head, to get that, that type of knowledge, education, a researcher who really knows how to research scientifically, meaning they know how to keep logbooks, know how to collect evidence, have connections to get that evidence, or even have their own lab. It's going to take that whole package. And for somebody to be out there more than a weekend, more than, it's going to take a very long time.
Yeah. There's something that Jeff Meldrum told me a couple weeks ago. I was talking with him, and he said he's well past retirement age. And I said, well, why don't you retire and go hunt Bigfoot? And he goes, if I retire, I lose my lab. So and while he's working there, he's probably under constraints. So there we go. It's a two-edged sword right there.
Wow.
But well, what I think I think that environmental DNA could be help, but we need the DNA from Bigfoot first. That's kind of the route I'm shooting for right now. We have, which is going to be a virtual impossibility. I know I'm like grasping at straws here, but I have one of those tranquilizer dart guns, but we don't have tranks for it because I'm not a vet and I don't know how much to do, but we have DNA darts that will hit a Bigfoot, draw blood, and fall off, and they have trackers in them so we can find them. But my idea was to maybe dart one of these things on camera with a GoPro on my gun, so you can see the dart hitting Bigfoot and getting the DNA that way. But then, of course, we got to fight the fight about, oh, it's contaminated. Oh, it's wasn't a real Bigfoot, or so there's all this stuff.
Good night, Sharon.
Thanks, Sharon.
So what do you think, Joe?
Well, what your idea was pretty good, but you got to get close enough to shoot one.
Yeah, that's which is going to be a virtual impossibility. Yeah.
So that's a good idea. But like I say, if you're not close enough, I don't know how far one of those darts are accurate at. Probably not more than 25, 30 yards, maybe, I guess.
Yeah, that's about 30 yards. Yep.
There's a lot of people out there say they've been closer than that, though. But by the time you draw your gun up, it's good unless you're sitting there walking around like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think if a Bigfoot sees you walk around like that, he'll know you have a gun and he's not going to show himself.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And somebody said a drone with a trank. Now, here's another problem. We were talking about the government stuff. Modern drones have GPSs in them and they won't fly in national forests.
Oh.
So if you're in a national forest, they literally won't fly, and they won't fly within 5 miles of an airport either, but because that's just FAA rules. But the national forest, it's illegal to fly drones in. So there's that.
I found that out.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
They don't work at sororities either, Joe. So you're not gonna.
Yeah.
I found a picture of people don't know this, but I'm a forensic artist, a lot like Harvey Pratt. So I do realistic witness. This is a picture of a Squatch and Cowboy catching a cloaked Sasquatch. This is how we do it. There you go. I'll sign it.
First off, if I was a roper, I'd be a healer, which means wrapping.
I got the bow legs here too, Squatch and
Hey,
Cowboy.
that guy looks like the guy from Curious George, the guy with the yellow hat.
Hey man, I guess I'm getting famous. Maybe people are drawing cartoons about me.
That's right, baby.
That's good, though. That's good.
Thank you.
I never thought about that. Damn, I don't know if I can drag one down though.
It's like the Wonder Woman rope, so you can get even the cloaked Sasquatch. Yeah.
That's it.
There we go. Well, thank you guys. Any last thoughts before we go?
Well, for people that want to meet Scott and Hannah, they have a way to do it. People don't know this, but Scott and Hannah are among the 27 or so people that are going to join us, and Dr. Simeon Hine, the cast and crew of Flash of Beauty, and Rich Germeau in particular, and the director and DP and myself. And we're going to dig into all these stranger issues in the Pacific Northwest on the last weekend of September. So it's sold out, but we're going to hide 2 tickets on the Olympic Peninsula. So if you want to meet Scott and Hannah, we have a scavenger hunt that's going to start. And every week we're going to have a clue over at a Flash of Beauty YouTube channel when we do a live event, Jill and I. So each week I'll release a clue. And by the summer, you'll have a chance to add up all the clues and go out and join us in the woods with a golden ticket for 2. So
That's
stay
fun.
tuned for that.
Joe, you got any adventures coming up?
No, I gotta say that the past video I did about the 11-year-old had a Bigfoot encounter. It's possibly my last video because it's just getting where I can't afford to go out and do it anymore.
Oh, sorry.
But I'll be here.
Okay, awesome.
Unless I can start walking the roads and picking up aluminum cans and going selling them.
Oh.
There we go. Yeah.
But that's it for me. I mean, I'll be here every second Wednesday of the month.
Okay. All right.
Unless a Bigfoot comes around my property somewhere, but
You never know. Yeah.
I've just neglected my house and my land and stuff like that. There's a lot of stuff around here I gotta do. I gotta get my truck fixed and stuff like that. So the money I spend on going out, I'm gonna put in all this stuff and get everything back together. And
Totally understand. Yeah.
I'll be out in the woods one of these days again.
Cool. All right, Nikki,
Family.
you got anything coming up?
No, just the same old stuff, researching for my shows. And there is a slot canyon that's about 50 minutes away from me that I want to go explore. It's not a Bigfoot thing, just a hiking loop, but looks pretty awesome, you know, to spectacular shots. What's that?
Where's that?
Right outside of Las Cruces.
Oh, up there. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Right outside of there. And it's just a short loop. I think it's 1.2 mile, 1.4 mile loop through a little slot canyon. So I'm going to try to do that. I think I'm going to try to go on Saturday. I'm not sure if I'd be able to live stream that, but we'll see. I won't know till I get there.
Cool. Well, if you want to know where we're going to be, SquatchAmerica.com. You can look us up. We got a whole bunch of festivals we're going to be doing this summer, and then this fall, we're going to go spend a lot of time down in the Cloudcroft, New Mexico area. Maybe I'll go hang out with Nikki. It's not too far from.
Yeah, the last time you were there was during the holidays, so I
Yeah.
had all kinds of people here and stuff. So yeah, no, definitely, I'm going to get up there.
All right. So yeah, we're going to go hang out there and look for that FU money. Okay. All right.
It's from my
It's
way.
I want to find it first.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. Thanks, guys.
See you later. Everybody in chat.
Everybody in the chat, thank you for hanging out with us. And until next time, bye. Oh, we got to do the ending thing here. I got to find the right buttons.